WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression on our people's minds are
Hey, Vaughn. I see you, Sister Tracy, Brother Jardea. All right. Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host and third eye optometrist, Patrice Gibbs, ready to get them started. I hope you didn't miss last week's show when I had my dear friend and brother, Dr. Yasser Payne on. If you did miss it, go to my YouTube channel and check it out. It was very interesting, very enlightening. As usual, don't expect anything less from Dr. Payne. All right. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. And that's what we do here on the Open Eye. You know, with all the greed going on in the corporate world, you know, it's something that everywhere you go, you have to do self-checkout. I got kicked out of Walmart break room the other day, and they asked me, why was I there? I replied, I'm on break. Hey, man, you don't even work here. I said, I just self-checked out, so technically I do. I need a break. Yeah, break from you. Sorry. Yeah, I got this quote from Damon Dash. Not someone that I pay a lot of attention to, but I found this quote very interesting. A Jewish businessman told me, we call you, black people, liquid money. The same way that water falls out of a man's hands, money typically seeps out of a black person's hands the same way. Your community gets money and immediately gives it all away to people who aren't black. We see that as a huge business opportunity. You know, that's not by happenstance. You know, I know we get a lot of criticism for abandoning our communities and institutions and what have you, but you have to understand something. What you have to understand is this, okay? I remember when I went in the Air Force, I was 18 years old, and most of the people around me were 18 years old and first time away from home. Now, some of these people came from very strict homes where they had little to no freedom. And now here they are out on their own. And what do you think they did? They went buck wild. Young ladies became promiscuous. Young men were drinking out of their minds and doing everything that was allowed that they could get away with. Okay? Well, when we were in segregation, we were in a very closed society. even though many of us enjoyed some semblance of economic success and what have you. But for the most part, our people were in a tamped down society where we could barely breathe. As the saying goes, you know, it was during a time where straightening up your back and standing tall could get your neck stretched. So when integration and when the society opened up, we tend to run away from each other. This is what children do, and this was what our mindset was. We equated quality with white and dispel some of those myths today. Okay, let me get my disclaimer in here and we'll get on with the show. All right, because I got something for you. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
WHGE 95.3 FM. That's indeed the Open Eye. And getting your eye open. Let me get this set up right quick. Okay, we'll go there. All right, all right. Quote from Dr. Clark. As long as you are dependent on other people solely for your jobs, your house, the cleaning of your streets, the education of your children, the image you see on television, or the image of God in your church, you can cut it any way you want. You're a slave. That's right. And that's an unfortunate truth. What's up, Steve? I see you, bro. Sharon. That's right. You know, as long as you're dependent on other people, when you accept another people's God concept as your own, and a God that doesn't look like you, you become spiritually their slave. Okay? It's time that we wake up. It's time that we realize that we can no longer equate quality with whiteness. Why we ever did that, I'm hard pressed to tell you. Okay, moving right along. I'll go to another quote here. What is my purpose in life? It's a note to self. What is my purpose in life? I asked the void. What if I told you that you fulfilled it when you took an extra hour to talk to that kid about his life? Or when you paid for that young couple in the restaurant? Or when you saved that dog in traffic? Or when you tied your father's shoes? Your problem is that you equate your purpose with goal-based achievement. The universe isn't interested in your achievement, just your heart. When you choose to act out of kindness, compassion, and love, you are already aligned with your true purpose. You don't need to look any further. Yeah. Okay. Now, as I said, one of the myths that, before I get to that, yeah, let me go here. I'll hold this till later. Okay. I spoke on this before. I'm not sure how many of you were aware of this. Okay. Ho Chi Minh. You heard of Ho Chi Minh? If you heard of Vietnam, you had to have heard of Ho Chi Minh. He was the Vietnamese communist revolutionary leader. And he was very instrumental, of course, to lead North Vietnam to eventual independence from French colonizers. According to historians, Ho Chi Minh was influenced partly by the teachings of Marcus Garvey. And this was during his stay in America. Ho Chi Minh was born in I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Gan Sinh Kong in 1890. Much of Ho's early life had been filled with exaggerated facts, but what is known is that he began traveling the world and studying different cultures around 1911. In 1912, Ho arrived to America's shores and began living between Boston and Harlem. According to his personal but often challenged account, it was customary for revolutionary leaders to exaggerate facts to add to their mystique, okay? During the time Ho Chi Minh was in Harlem, he was said to have attended several meetings and lectures by the UNIA leader and Pan-Africanist Marcus Garvey. Garvey's words may have influenced him, no doubt. In 1924, Ho published a pamphlet entitled The Black Race. It was translated from French, which detailed the conditions and horrors African Americans face under the false democracy of America. In the essay, Ho wrote, "It is well known that the black race is the most oppressed and most exploited of the human family. It is well known that the spread of capitalism and the discovery of the New World had an immediate result, the rebirth of slavery, and really the birth of chattel slavery. What everyone does not know is that after 65 years of so-called emancipation, American Negroes still endure atrocious moral and material sufferings, of which the most cruel and horrible is the custom of lynching." After returning to French rule Vietnam, Ho helped lead militant forces in a fight for independence. Declaring victory in 1945, Ho Chi Minh would later surrender to the French in exchange for the northern portion of the country, which was renamed the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. Interesting enough, Ho shared a birthday with El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, whom we know as Malcolm X. And he worked in the same bakery in 1912 and 1913 as Malcolm X did in the 40s. In 1969, during the height of the Vietnam War, Ho died of heart failure at the age of 79. And it was Garvey's influence that brought Ho to the realization that he could lead a revolution and free his people from white supremacy. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. What's up, Brother Keith? I see. WHGE 95.3 FM. You know, the real reason the white establishment was so hard on Colin Kaepernick, in spite of the fact that his protest was very peacefully done, is to deter other black athletes from also protest. James Baldwin, decades before, broke that down to us. When any white, this is the quote from James Baldwin, when any white man in the world picks up a gun and says, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death," the entire white world applauds. But when a black man says exactly the same thing, word for word, he's judged as a criminal by whites and treated as one. And everything possible is done to make sure, to make an example of him, to ensure there would be no more like him. It's James Baldwin. And that's not just so for Colin Kaepernick, but for anybody that stands up for our people. This is from Mr. Krim, brother named Ernest Krim. He's an influencer on TikTok and a historian. And he spoke about Black advanced studies. This goes right in line here. When we talk about the opportunity gap that exists in education and the lack of proficiency our kids have in reading and math, amongst other subjects, we can't just talk about it from a perspective of it being rooted in slavery. Okay, we also have to talk about the fact that when black teachers in segregated schools taught our kids, they often excelled. And oftentimes, when they created courses or curriculums that would give the black students an advantage over white students, political officials forbade it from being taught until white schools and white students could catch up. For example, a brother named Everett Dawson taught in segregated schools in North Carolina in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And this is what he said. Okay? A lot of people say that teaching in all black schools wasn't up to par, but I disagree with that because I saw and experienced the good work we were able to do with black students. I often wonder if white folks really want black kids to be successful. Brother Dawson, I can answer that question for you. No. I started the first advanced math class in Chatham County. This was at Horton, the all-black segregated school. This is Mr. Dawson. And the advanced math class was a course where they got beyond geometry and algebra 2. But when county school officials found out what we were doing, they blocked the course. They cut it out until the white school could establish the course and catch up with us. That's how determined the white folks were to be better than we were. So when we talk about the opportunity gap, we talk about the lack of proficiency in reading and math. And we see that today, and we talk about the banning and censoring of black history, we also have to have this conversation as well, because what was done then still reverberates today. And in fact, it's probably still happening. Because how do we know it's not? We know it is. We definitely know it is. Because the last thing they want is for our children to outshine their children, which is why they do everything they can to keep us from higher education or even from decent education, you know, in grade school, in K through 12. With the banning of books and what have you. They don't want us to know who invented everything. Black people invented everything. That sounds far-fetched to some people, but it's not. It's not. Who invented the traffic light? What about transportation itself? Farming, art, modern chemistry. What if I told you there was one answer to all these questions? That one answer is black people. Seriously. Okay? And the book on black inventions is like a mini encyclopedia full of more evidence than WikiLeaks. And just as eye-opening, do you know how much black inventors and creators have given to modern society? Just within the past 200 years, black Americans have drawn on a timeless well of inner genius to innovate and engineer the design of the world we live in today. But what of all the black history before that? Before white people invented the patent office. Black folks were the original creators, builders, developing ingenious ways to manage the world's changes over millions of years. Everywhere you can imagine, from Azerbaijan to Zagazig, with wit and wisdom and tons of pictures. There are books that dig deeper into the whitewashed history we learn in schools and books, and explores our African ancestors, established the foundation of modern society. Have you inherited this genius? What can you do with it? Inspired by solutions from the past, we can develop strategies for a successful future. Indeed, we can. And see, you know, they're pushing, and it's backfiring. It's backfiring. They're pushing for the, banning of our history, for the erasure of our history. Let me tell you what Harry Truman said. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of the opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. I refuse to live in fear. That's why I do what I do. Absolutely refuse to live in fear. I don't give a damn. I am not going to be silenced. Here's a quote from Malcolm X, where I go on here. You know, and let me tell you something, because we often tell you this. Our history did not begin with slavery, in spite of what you may think, or what you've been taught or indoctrinated to believe. See, America is false to the past. A quote from Frederick Douglass. All right, false to the present and solemnly binds herself to be false to the future. That's from Frederick Douglass. Another quote here from Malcolm. The only reason that the present generation of white Americans are in the position of economic strength that they are is because their fathers worked our fathers for over 400 years with no pay. For over 400 years, we worked for nothing. We were sold from plantation to plantation like you sell a horse or a cow. It was their fathers who did it to our fathers, and all that money that piled up from the sale of my mother and my grandmother is what gives the present generation of American whites the ability to walk around with their chest out. You know, like they had some kind of economic ingenuity. It's from Malcolm X. And don't get it mixed. Money doesn't disappear. It changes hands. It's passed down. That's what goes on with wealth. And they're well aware of that. Which is why they did things like redlining to block us from generational wealth. You know, the way the pendulum was swinging after the Civil War when we came out of slavery? If that pendulum had kept swinging, by now we have far outpaced white communities. We came out of slavery and within 10 years had developed well-organized communities that not only had economic parity, but economically outpaced white communities. Corporations, universities, and all white people benefit from slavery then and now. Oh, oh, my family never owned slaves. That's something you hear white Americans say. The statement itself is true for most whites. The problem is with that statement is how it's used to deflect a personal participation and to deny benefiting from slavery. America's slave past still profoundly affects its present. America grew rich on the red man's land worked by black slaves. Slavery of black people in America by white nations and the people of Western Europe created the economic engine that funded the modern capitalism that is America. Lehman Brothers. Empire started in the slave trade. The Sun-Times, the financial services firm, acknowledged that its founding partners profited from slavery. Aetna, the United States' largest health insurer, had policies in the 1850s that reimbursed slave owners for financial losses when the slaves they owned died. They took insurance out on my great-grandfather and collected. J.P. Morgan Chase, between 1831 and 1865, accepted approximately 13,000 enslaved individuals as collateral on loans and took ownership of approximately 1,250 of them when the plantation owners defaulted on their loans. J.P. Morgan Chase was a slave owner. New York Life Insurance Company is the largest mutual life insurance company in the United States. According to USA Today, evidence of 10 more New York life slave policies comes from an 1847 account book kept by the company's Mississippi agent W.A. Britton. The book, part of a collection of Louisiana State University, contains Britton's notes on slave policies he wrote for amounts ranging from $375 to $600. Wachovia accepted slaves as payments on loans. M. Rothschild and Sons, Bank in London. Documents seen by the Financial Times have revealed that Nathan Meyer Rothschild, the banker family's 19th century patriarch, made his first personal gains by using enslaved Africans as collateral in dealing with slave owners. And that list goes on and on and on and on. Brooks Brothers, Bank of America, Princeton raised money and recruited students from rich slave-owning families in the South and the Caribbean. USA Today's parent company, Gannett, had links to slavery. And like I said, the list just goes on and on. So when someone said, oh, well, I didn't own any slaves, well, most white people didn't. It was the big plantation owners that were the owners of slavery. The upper middle class may have owned 5 or 10 or 15, 20 slaves. But you had plantations where over 100, 200, 300. Thomas Jefferson in his lifetime owned 600 goddamn slaves. Boom! That wealth didn't just go away. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. We'll be right back with Nsoromma.
Charles, Mr. Charles Porter, what's good? Hey, yo, Keith, I see you. Sherry, Vaughn, Tracy, Wagwan. You hear your boy, right? He going in, ain't he?
WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Hey, good morning, brother Nsoromma. How you doing?
Good morning, brother. Good morning. Chop.
Make sure your mic is on.
Hello, world. What's good?
Yes,
I hear you about all the stuff we invented and created, and they trying to erase.
Man, we invented everything.
Hey.
All right. Oh, hey, look.
I mean, we was forced to invent everything because we was the slaves and they was making us do everything anyway.
Right.
So we was coming up with easy ways to do the hard things.
This is true.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. So yeah.
But before slavery.
Before slavery?
Before slavery.
Oh, okay.
All right. We invented urban planning. Okay? We invented urban planning, how to organize a city.
Right.
And we were so good at it in ancient times.
Right.
That Ramses the Great, known as the great ancestor, could turn to his architects and say, see that clear land over there? Build me a city.
Right.
And in 20 years, there would be a city there.
Right.
That's why when we came out of slavery, we still remembered our ability to create, establish, and manage a state.
It was a black man that created the architect for Washington, D.C., wasn't it?
Indeed. It was a black man that founded Chicago.
Yeah. But you don't hear none of that.
Oh, no.
That's crazy.
Oh, no, because they want to whitewash their history. Like I said, they're phony to the past. Okay. All right. Now, for those that think that Africans in the diaspora, I mean Africans here in America,
right,
Caribbean, and other
right,
places, don't or didn't care or didn't know about Africa, we did. We were well aware of it. Okay?
What we as what?
We as a people.
Oh, as a people.
Okay. Just an example. In the space of about 30 years between 1881 and 1914, roughly 90% of Africa had been colonized by European nations. But Ethiopia was one of less than a dozen countries left on the world map that had managed to escape foreign control and white supremacist ideology. In a wave of imperialism, this landlocked country in the Horn of Africa has successfully resisted invasions from the British and Europeans once before, who retreated with their tails between their legs during the first Italo-Ethiopian War of 1896. What did I just say? The Ethiopians kicked Italy's ass and ran them out of there in 1896. Menelik II was too sharp and hard for them. But Mussolini came back for revenge in August of 1935. This time with a stronger military offense to establish a modern Roman Empire in Ethiopia, sending its reigning Black Emperor Haile Selassie into exile. News of the brutal invasion outraged African Americans, many of whom increasingly saw Ethiopia, an ancient cradle of civilization, as their true ancestral home. If there was ever a foreign war worth fighting, it was going to be this one. But for thousands who signed up for the draft, including women, that rare footage is anything to go by, their efforts would ultimately be left in vain. Okay, let me tell you what went on when Mussolini invaded Ethiopia in 1935. Black men, women from all over the United States rallied in support of Ethiopia. They boycotted Italian products. They organized protests. They used black-owned newspapers to raise awareness. They sent medical supplies to Ethiopia and literally volunteered for resistance, for the resistance force. I'm talking 8,000 men from Chicago, 5,000 from Detroit, 2,000 from Kansas City, 1,500 from Harlem and Philadelphia and more. But all these, all these volunteers were blocked from leaving the United States by the United States government. All right? We're talking about a good 20,000 black people or more, 20 to 30,000 black people that volunteered to go to Ethiopia to help their brothers and sisters on the African continent fight off them colonizers coming from Europe, the Italians. Here's the crazy part. Only 2 of those recruits, 2 out of all those thousands of people actually made it to Ethiopia, and both of them were aviators. And you know what? One of those was John C. Robinson. You don't know who John C. Robinson is? He was the father of Tuskegee Airmen, and he became the commander of the Ethiopian Air Force. Yeah, how many of you knew that? WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
Yo.
What was that you was holding up, bro?
The paper from Herman, I guess.
Oh, okay. It was something he told me to look up. Right. Let me see if I can do this right quick.
This is our problem. Many of our people live in fear. I don't, my family does not. Many are enslaved in their mind. That's right, Brother Potter. You know what I'm saying? Tracy, what's good? Yaga. Yo, your mic is blocking you out. You don't turn it like on the angle and you can still get.
Yeah, still get my voice.
Yeah, They pick up outside. Yo, what's good?
All right, all right.
Yeah, I see you. Hum Dickity's in the building. What's happening? Yo, that's what's up. What's on the menu?
WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs.
Bro, Nsoromma in the building.
Yeah, buddy. Now, I gotta talk about this when we talk about what we've invented.
What?
Okay? Because they've invented everything, especially the music.
Oh.
Okay. I am not particularly a fan of Beyonce.
Okay.
Okay, I don't really do the celebrity thing. I'm not really impressed. All right. But Beyonce is releasing a country music album.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, I saw this video where someone had called in. She already released a song or whatever.
Off of the album?
Huh?
I said she already released the song off the album?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's country music.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, I've seen black country music artists and quite impressed. Okay?
Right.
All right. The station, someone called in and said, hey, could you play Beyonce's new country song? And they said, hey, we're a country music station, and we don't play Beyonce.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And
They're getting the black baller already.
Yeah. And the dude from Dukes of Hazzard, he said, well, just like the release of monkeys in the street. We get what you saying, you racist bastard.
Boo! I thought you was going to go with a harder word.
Yeah, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know what you're saying. We know what you're saying. All right? And you're saying, country music is white. It just is. Excuse me. Black people invented country music.
Every form of music came from black people.
Every form. Black people invented. Yeah, I remember I told my mentor, Ralph Morris, one time, I like all kind of music, but I don't like no country music. He said, yes, you do. I said, how you going to tell me what I like? He said, you like country music. I said, oh, man, I don't want to be racist, all right, but some country music, he said, you like country music. He said, you like Ray Charles? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. Well, Ray Charles sang country music, and you dug it. I said, you know what, you're right. I sure did. That's the word. So, every form of music, like Nsoromma said, we invented all of it, including country music, okay? Where do you think the banjo came from? The banjo came from Africans who took a gourd, all right, hooked some strings up to it and was lang-lang-lang all day long. That's where it came from.
Mostly every instrument came from Africa. That's why we invented it.
And that's word. That's word, Well, let's move on. I know a lot of people. Oh, before I do, something else you may have noticed here on the Open Eye. We haven't discussed Cat Williams and the comedians beefing with each other, and this, that, and the other. Maybe some things Cat Williams said was right. And I heard a few people say, well, he exposed the Illuminati. I didn't hear him mention one white person's name. So what Illuminati do he expose? And stop it with that Illuminati stuff, like the Illuminati is this insurmountable, undefeatable white people mafia that, we're never going to be able to tamp down or defeat. We can, we will.
It's like a gang, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. That's where, in a gang with no morals. That's why they're not going to last. Now, what's been going on with the Trump situation is, I'm sure we all heard about Fannie Willis, who has been under criticism for having an affair with her underling and this, that, and the other. Nathan Wade was the guy on her team that she had a relationship with.
Right.
And this was after the guy got divorced and all that. Now, the crazy, interesting thing that I saw is what I heard some black people say, that Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade violated a black American rule.
What?
Yeah.
And what group was that?
Oh, oh, I don't care how you look at it, according to this one person, all right? The rule that when we are in a position to bring anything down on a white person's head, all right, our character and background and actions and what have you have to be impeccable. We can make no mistakes as if we are human. Okay, so like she shouldn't have had this relationship with this guy who was divorced, all right, and she had nothing to do with him being divorced and what have you. But you know, she was going after big game, okay, and apparently she forgot that big game, especially those rich white men in suits, have sharp teeth, claws, and horns. And this is nothing new. Well, what this one person is saying is, oh, they got caught with their pants down, literally, you know, because they had this relationship and what have you. And, you know, to me, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. They've done much worse, you know, and what this person isn't looking at is what Fannie Willis went through, all right? Her father testified yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before, this week at any rate.
Right.
Her father, when she announced that she was running for office, all right, she got so many death threats that she had to move 4 times. Bomb threats from, of course, from white supremacists.
That's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. To the extent that a cop just had to go ahead and post up and sit in front of her house.
And he didn't want to do that?
He didn't, of course not.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Her father would not allow her to tell him where she lived at. Fannie Will's father would not allow her to tell him where she lived at, because if for some reason these white supremacists should kidnap him and hold him at gunpoint to find out where she lives, even though he's sure he wouldn't tell if he did.
Right.
He wanted to make sure he didn't even know.
Right.
And what's her name? Nikki Haley. All right. The brown, white supremacist Indian, East Indian, former governor of North Carolina, said America's not racist and it never was. Wake up out of your Leave It to Beaver fantasy, you racist hussy. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Nina, Miss Bob, what's up? Hey, Tammy, Ty, what's good?
WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Actually got in here close to on time today.
I see. The snow ain't stopped you, my brother.
No, not this time.
It had me balled up in the sheets.
I heard that.
I said, what's going on? What time is it?
Yes, indeed. Oh, sucky, I did. Oh, man. That's all right. Okay. Earlier I talked about the Africa being colonized. It was planned at the Berlin Conference and what have you. All right. And since that colonization, you know, there have been countries that have won their independence. All right. But we have neocolonialism. Okay. And what happens in neocolonialism is, you know, the Western powers, America, and those at Europe, Britain, France, and what have you. All right, they put puppets in place.
Okay.
They put puppets in place in African countries, and of course these puppets are quite corrupt and coons and traitors to our people, and what have you. Okay? But if these puppets should try to do anything to benefit African people, okay, what happens is they're discredited. Right. They're made to look like, you know, they're so corrupt and what have you. And if none of that works, the Western powers murder them. I didn't pull no punches there.
Right.
They killed them.
Because that's what they do.
That's what they do. All right. And you got this guy, Eric Prince. Eric Prince is the founder and CEO of a major corporation.
Okay.
Right. And what is that corporation? Black something, I can't think of it. Black Star, whatever it is, right? He's the major
backbone.
He's the major backbone.
Okay.
Right? And this is a quote from him. This is what he had to say. It's time to just put the imperial hat back on and say, we're going to govern these countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough and we're done. You can say that about pretty much all Africa. All African nations are incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris. Wait a minute. People are going to watch, are going to hear this and say, wait a minute, Eric Prince, what is it, Blackstone Holding, is talking about colonialism again. Absolutely. And that's what he said. Absolutely. We need to recolonize Africa. If y'all don't wake up and see what's going on with these people, you better. They're talking about coming back and basically taking over the governments. What he's really fearful of are African nations like Burkina Faso, where they have declared Africa for Africans. That's the last thing they want to hear, is that the resources of Africa are going to benefit themselves. Okay? How many times have we seen African leaders, from Gaddafi to my namesake Patrice murdered for daring to use the resources of Africa for Africans? You know what?
What?
This is from Shahid Bolsa. He's a Muslim brother. He said, America needs to be contained. Their people and their politicians are unstable. Their system is corrupt and cruel. The private sector has usurped their power as a nation. And that's true. That's true. The capitalists, the corporatists, the corporatist gangsters, all right, they had taken over the power, the political power in the country. You cannot get in office without donations of millions of dollars, especially on a national level.
Right.
All right. And where are you going to get those donations? From the corporatists.
And the criminals.
Yeah. That's word. You know, it's something. You literally have to dull your minds. This is for you Americans. Impair your judgment just to cope with life. You can't even have fun unless you get drunk or high. Think about that. How miserable do you have to be that you can't even enjoy your free time, your leisure time, in your right mind? And look at the looting that's going on in broad daylight. In the United States, outlets are closing all across the country because they're getting robbed blind on a regular basis by amounts of people. I'm still quoting Shahid Bolsa. You have a homeless epidemic. You have an opioid epidemic. Sweden is going to bring the army in and fight criminal gangs. There's a society of unstable that is so deep that you are internally, deeply, socially, psychologically, mentally, and emotionally unequipped to deal with modernity, to deal with the modern world with so-called liberalism. Your societies, your character is incompatible with the belief system that you claim. I mean, if the West created the modern world, nevertheless, they find themselves foreigners in it because liberty and freedom just become chaos and mayhem without moral grounding. Without moral grounding, it doesn't matter how nice your infrastructure is. or how advanced your technology is, you'll still behave like a savage. You're a caveman at the opera. Damn. And without moral grounding, without moral maturity, liberty and freedom is just license, and it turns your cities into wilderness, and it turns your life into wilderness. And that's where we are, in the uncivilized wilderness of America.
Wild, Wild West all over again.
All over.
But they're going to take your guns away from you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know? And I understand what you're saying. They want to take your guns away from you because they opened it up so stupidly that they allow mental ill people, racists, gangsters, and every damn body else to get a gun. Now you need a gun to protect yourself. In places like Florida and Texas where they have open carry, all right, you don't even need a permit no more. Now everybody needs a gun. Okay? Yeah. Now, and not only that, but they open up the borders. Right. Right? All right? And don't blame the Democrats for this, because they came up with a plan to deal with this immigration problem. But the Republicans blocked it. All right? Now you got people coming into Chicago and New York and other places, and they just arrested a 17-year-old boy for shooting for shooting tourists, and then shooting at the cops.
And he was from an immigrant.
Yeah, he's an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
You know, that's where. And don't get it mixed. I know a lot of you immigrants are fleeing from countries that America went and screwed up and put corrupt puppets in place who are dogging their people for the Americans, which is where you get the name Banana Republic. I seen a Mexican dude, right, from Mexico say, don't get it mixed, all right? Guatemala is south of Mexico. We don't allow the Guatemalans in because the Americans went and messed up their country. Now they're fleeing and they're coming into Mexico.
And I thought Guatemala was a whole prison, the whole open prison.
Damn near.
Damn.
That's why the people trying to get out of there and get to Mexico and then get to the United States. But the Mexicans don't want them because the Americans have put their society in a position where the corruption and crime touches down to people who are hungry and don't have no goddamn choice but to loot and murder just to get something to eat.
And these governments supposed to help the poor and the unfortunate, but they don't do them but step on them and crush them.
That's what they do. America has made it illegal, damn near,
to be homeless.
To be homeless.
And now how that sound?
How that
and
sound?
You making them homeless.
You know they got park benches in some cities that have spikes on the park benches.
So they can't sleep.
Yeah. And not only that, not so they can't sleep, but you got to put a quarter in the box
get out of here
to go down for 15 minutes.
That hurt me. Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
10 minutes for a quarter.
10 minutes for a quarter.
Oh, yo, you crushed me.
That's word. And you mess around and sit there too damn long and forget how much longer you have. You get a spike up your ass for being homeless or for wanting to take a rest.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
What is it coming to, man?
What is it coming to?
That's super messy.
Super messy, bro.
Oh, my God.
That's super messy. It's just unbelievable, man.
Right, man.
That's
wow.
Right. Yeah. And then you wonder why me and Nsoromma get on here and try to educate our people.
Right.
To open your eye. All right? So that you can prepare yourself.
Because it's only next door.
It's only next door.
Yeah.
That's right. And for you, those of you that are sane and understand that, yeah, you probably do need a firearm. Nsoromma will train you.
You got that right.
And don't get it mixed. I'm not against you having a gun. I'm against crazy people and white supremacists and WIEs, yeah, white identity extremists,
right,
having guns and giving them to their 15-year-old, 12-year-old children who run up in schools and murder every goddamn body.
When you know he was handicapped.
Yeah, mentally.
Right.
That's word. And here's the crazy thing, all right? Because your whole society is sick. So when one of these people do this thing, you know, with the mass murders and what have you, right? When white people do it, first thing they do is say, well, he's mentally ill. Yeah, well, he's from a mentally ill society. But when a black person is murdered by the cops or from one of these white people, what do? You go to try to dig up dirt on everybody in their family.
Look at his criminal record.
Yeah.
He got locked up 42 years ago.
Mm-hmm. We're the only people that
Look how long that was.
Yeah, 42 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Because we're the only people that are put on trial for being murdered.
Wow.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye, coming around to close the show, y'all. Don't take us long. I'm going to get it right this time, brother. Destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority.
Who treats you as an option.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs.
Nsoromma in the building.
Thanks for joining us.
Yaga. Sherry. Yo. What? Tell Nikki to use her real name and see if she's... Yo, what's her real name? I forgot.
It's Neutrata, Neutrona, something. But it's an Indian name.
Oh, okay.
And yes, Stephen Leach. Yes, Charlie Pride. Charlie Pride is a black country music star.
Charlie Pride.
Yeah, I remember Charlie Pride.
And if you want to voice your opinion, come out.
Yeah, you know, Harmon told me to mention something. I'm sorry, Harmon, I forgot. And I didn't know.
LJ Playhouse February 10th. That's
Nah, it was something else, man. But we'll get it. Sorry about that, Harmon.
He did text you too.
Yeah, I know. That's where you gotta call me earlier, Harmon. That's where. Well, let's close them out, brother.
All right. Hey, yo, you know what it is? Yo, Nsoromma in the building, Mr. Gibbs.
Hey. Like I always tell you, oh shoot, hold on. Wait a minute, because your thing, just give me a second here. All right, yeah. Like I always tell you, global African supremacy, because the world was a much better place when the black man ruled. Peace.
Yo, streaming all platforms, you know what it is. Go check us out, you hear? WHGE 95.3 FM. Yaga!
All right.